part is, as an organisation, we want to source as much as we can locally. So of all the materials we use for what we manufacture, we want to get that locally. So the ability for big suppliers to set up hubs for whether it's glass manufacturing or carton manufacturing or closure manufacturing, and then we can easily export them across the region, I think is hugely attractive to us. So yeah, I think we see massive opportunities in that free trade zone.
That's great. So picking up the electricity from PowerPoint, I think, Peter, that comes straight into your patch. So maybe same question to you, but picking up, tell us a bit about your organisation and how you're going to deliver the Vera challenge, maybe.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So at Mandulis, we are a UK company. We're a startup, not too old, but we do a lot of industrial research in partnership with UK universities such as Imperial College and other UK startups on the tech side. And we do a lot of our work in Africa at the moment, in Uganda, where we're deploying renewable energy from hybrid sources. So we connect both biomass electricity from agricultural waste with also solar together to help us deliver what we're proud to say is currently, the cheapest electricity off-grid at the same quality as grid electricity. So in Uganda, for example, we're delivering electricity off-grid to households at 26 cents a kilowatt hour, and to industries off-grid, we go way lower. But that's only possible by focusing on productive, affordable energy that is needed for agricultural value addition. In these communities, value addition to agricultural production is very important to get them out of poverty. What's interesting there is, we've had a lot of work that brings the UK in. A lot of our industrial research has been supported by Innovate UK and UKRI, and that's really helped not only de-risk, but also catalyze our ability to move into attracting more private sector funding into the scale-up of what we are doing. What's quite significant as well is, our larger projects that we're still developing include the 20 megawatt Earth Energy project. If you think of the waste that will come out of that, with biomass gasification, the residues from ag waste from over 120,000 farmers, over 1 million people, getting an income from the inputs of biomass to power, a city. But the waste that comes out of the biomass gasification power plant is biochar, which is a great carbon sequestration opportunity, but also can be used as a coal replacement for industries. So by us looking at not only electricity, but also clean cooking fuel, we're able to tackle the issue while at the same time bringing the farmers around us up with us.
So many people in the AU, that how can you manage that? And maybe we'll come back to that one for money. But at a slightly smaller level, Peter, maybe the same question for you, really. But picking up on those points, taking us forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you to Her Excellency. Yes, it's something we're working on already as we speak at the moment. In the communities where we deploy minigrids, our minigrids are able to power rural industries at the same price that urban industries are basically powered on the electricity side of things. That encourages urban industries to move closer to the source of production, and that makes a massive difference. In those communities, we've already introduced electric mobility, electric transportation, electric ambulances, making the transition even more interesting, going as far as making sure that the circular bioeconomy that the Prince of Wales talked about at COP26. We're actually living that at the moment, where excess agricultural residues from farms that would have been burnt otherwise are used to generate electricity, used to generate clean cooking gas, which is as good in calorific value as the natural gas, to generate electricity, biochar coming back into the soil. So it is actually happening, and we're ready to kind of keep on scaling it up. What has made that possible? What's made it possible for us to test all this out, the very best technology out there, going as far as having parts of our ecosystem that have designed our own batteries. That's why it's been really helpful to have the multilateral support in our research and development, and beyond that, in catalyzing future investment which is coming in now. We've actually been able to take a project which was seeded by Innovate UK, worked in it for a couple of years, tried out different technologies. Now, as part of the pilot project, there's a village of 200 people that's connected. But that's catalyzed private investment to enable us to scale up to 6 locations, where each location is able to support over 20,000 households. So that's kind of coming really interesting. Large private sector institutions can come in, but they usually want someone else to help get ideas off the ground. And it's also come in handy by helping us prove the case for carbon financing, being able to trial out interesting ways to internally subsidize our own operations in refugee communities and elsewhere through having our own carbon financing initiatives. And that's also been made possible by having some of these partnerships in place. Yep.
Sorry to barge in, but that's a really, again, it's one of the questions coming in off the, from our excellent audience around, tell us a bit more about how you're doing with carbon finance. Does this give additionality to your overall business, being able to sell essentially carbon credits, or how does that work? Tell me how that works.
Thank you very much. It comes in really handy at the beginning of a project when it could take you a year or 2 to secure equity to scale up a project. But by being able to forward sell the carbon offsets based on what's been designed and based on what's happening on the ground, you're able to, in effect, reduce your equity needs, and having forward sales of carbon offsets for maybe 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead, come in lieu of that initial equity. It gets you going, adds on to the catalyzing effect of multilateral development support, and gets you forward. So we work directly with large entities, Fortune 500 companies, FTSE 100 companies, et cetera, and directly, forward sell to them, and also to the public as well. And then that allows us to be able to deliver electricity in rural areas, same price as electricity from the grid, deliver clean cooking solutions in communities. We just connected more than 7,500 refugee families in Uganda over Christmas, giving them clean cooking fuel for Christmas and onboarding them onto clean energy. All that has been possible because we're part of our own carbon platform that allows us to do these forward sales. So it's actually made a massive difference to us. The forward sales of carbon offsets to further de-risk projects, further catalyze further investment in, and to reduce the need for external equity as you kick off a project.
Sorry to butt in, but I think that's a really important factor in terms of investment, whether it's a bankable investment or not, going forward. And if you listen to what people, Angolans are doing with their green hydrogen and things like that, then it's around this sort of area where you can get additionality, I think. I think that takes me to Colin, really. I think firstly, Colin and Nyeko can say whether they're buying credits from you or not, but I leave it to them best whether they're doing that. But I think on Colin's side, given your global responsibility, firstly, a little bit about how you're essentially decarbonising your supply chain, which I think you've been talking about environment, for example.
Awesome. So when it comes to tech,
does this really work in practice? I guess is the question.
When it comes to tech, we find ourselves leading. We as many of the startups are out there, we lead on tech. We go all the way out to make sure the green, clean option is the cheapest, most viable, and most attractive option. We've got to do that hard work and make sure it works at a small scale before we go out there and connect. For example, if you think about the farmers we work with, the very same farmers who supply people like Diageo are the same farmers that actually supply us with the waste. Once sorghum, maize, barley goes to Diageo, the waste that's left behind, that's what we purchase. So we find ourselves working in the same ecosystem. Now, when we provide farmers income from that waste, they're able to add to the income that Diageo is supplying to them. If we're able to deploy our electric vehicles, which we are doing already, in the collection of our agricultural waste, the same electric vehicles can also be used to move the grain that goes to the bigger markets. And when we deploy our digital platform, which we do, to collect our biomass waste, the same digital platform can now also be used for bigger companies to aggregate and source and track the inputs that they need for their industries, both for the beverage industry, in country, as well as other industries for export and so on and so forth. So we've realized that, it's been a case of academic and industrial research, proving the case, making sure we can deliver product to industry at a lower price and a better quality. Then industry will always come on board. Industry has come on board, and I'll say Diageo has worked with us in Uganda, and we're glad that they have, because it's kind of helped us move forward, and we look forward to working even more with them, as well as with others in the ecosystem across different industries. After COP26, there's a lot more excitement now to move things forward. Once we have our 20 megawatt plant up and running in Gulu in northern Uganda, up to 120,000 smallholder farmers will be able to have a regular income from their waste for 20 years, guaranteed by the power plant. But once that waste is gone through the power plant, we'll have over 50,000 tons of biochar coming out of that power plant, which can meet the energy needs. Prime Minister talked about industrial heartlands belching out carbon. Industries, such as Unilever's industries in Africa, Diageo's, Coke's, others, can actually use this biochar instead of something else. And you find that the same waste which was left in the fields has now generated electricity for the economy, and the waste out of that has now replaced heavy fuel oil and coal at the same quality and at a lower price. It is possible, we are doing it, and we believe we can share our learnings and help others figure out how they can do that as well. And we're now taking those learnings back to the UK and figuring out that the issues that are faced by smallholder farmers in Africa are actually the same issues that are faced by rural farmers in the UK. Affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy that is productive. If the price comes down low enough, and if it's also climate smart, if biochar is involved, it helps any farmer anywhere, any rural person anywhere. So the learnings that have been supported by our corporate partners and our government partners like the UK government and so on, have now led to innovations that have not only made a difference in Africa, but are now moving back to some of the countries that supported us to make those innovations. So it is a fragile planet, like Her Majesty said, but we can get together and part that future of hope.
Brilliant. I've been asking questions which have come from our excellent audience as we go. There's a number of questions which people may think I'm ignoring, but that's because we have no representative of the UK government on our panel, and a lot of them I have to say are directly addressed to them. So I'm sure that they and those questions about bankable products will all be covered in the future, because we have a financing team and we have an energy team coming up later on, and those will be, I'm sure, be picked up then. I want to ask you one more question each with a quick response, because this has been, for me, it's been great fun, and that always helps, and it's been really informative for me personally, which is great. This is the third your answer is going to be, and it's not going to be no. So give us a minute of your optimism.
Awesome. Absolutely optimistic. Like I imagine say, the time for talk is over, the time for action. My grandmother always says, it is actually not fire that gives birth to ashes, but it's ashes that gives birth to fire. So when we look across the continent and realize that everything seems like it's burnt down, but it's from the dearth of that scorching earth, from those doldrums that people can rise up, and ideas rise up like a phoenix. The head of BlackRock talked a couple days ago in his CEO letter that we've got to think of ourselves not as dodos, but as phoenixes, and that's the future. So the future is very, very bright. It's one full of hope, and we can actually have a just transition, a complete transition, a transition where the renewable, the cleaner, the greener future is the more affordable one, the more sustainable one, and the more profitable one at the same time. So I think it's time we all got together and, and joined each other's, missions to power that future of hope. Thank you. Thank you very much, Amani. Shukran jazeelan. Looking forward to COP27 in Egypt.
Audio is clear. Thank you, everybody.
Good. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
That was enormously good fun. Thank you to everybody. Really good.
And that was
Right.
good. Everyone spoke all on
ask Vera
time.
whether did we pass, Vera? If you're listening.
No, I think she left. But anyway, thank you also very much. And again, looking forward to seeing you sooner. We don't have to wait until next year.
Indeed.
So let us just
Yeah.
see, the outcome of this conversation hopefully very soon.
Most definitely.
Excellent.
Really,
Well,
really wonderful. And thank you,
Whoever's
everyone.
organising this, are we done now? Can we go back to listening? Maybe?
Yes.
You're all you're all free to leave and head back to the Swap Club platform basically to watch the rest of it.
Can I just say, last time I did this time last year, we got 10 minutes in and then we got cut off and we never got back. So all I'd say is, thank goodness. And thank you to everybody.
Yeah.
I'll be in touch.
Yeah,
Thank
really, really
you.
grateful.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Colin. Thank you,
Thank you.
Micatello. Thank you, Giselle and David. And thanks so much, Mani.
Thank you.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.